Hi everyone, welcome. I'm out here in my yard. I was preparing to come outside to feed my outdoor worm bag, and it looks like someone was here before me. I feel kind of like the bears in Goldilocks, where they realize that their beds have been slept in and their food has been eaten. Same kind of situation here. I put a brand new covering in here yesterday, one that's still a little bit too large. Should be tailored to fit. Shave the edges around down a little bit, since the coverings in both of my systems, the cardboard underneath here is pretty weathered as well from what I remember. But we're going to get in here, take a closer look at what kind of damage we're dealing with as a result of having a visitor in here, evidently scrounging leftover bits of corn. Piece of corn that you can actually see through at this point. The seed of a avocado, that might have been what attracted them. Well, I don't know, there's always different kind of interesting stuff in here. Here too. Here we're not going to bother with this. I'm just going to cover this back up. It's the worm bag we're here to feed. It's been 10 days since they last got fed, and it's due, so let's get to work. My, what a mess they have made. Alright, so I've got an assortment of different foods here for them. Corn cob, carrot peels, potato peels. On the flip side, a day's worth of coffee with a orange peel hiding underneath it, and a banana peel. So, looks like a nice assortment of things, as well as I've got my box. This is what I usually bring leaves downstairs with, but what I'm doing today is bringing shredded paper upstairs from my shredder. I just created a bunch of shredded paper the other day, and I just combined it with some of the leftover leaves that were in that box. So we've got a nice assortment of shredded paper and leaves to include as another big bedding boost for this system. Because that was the main event last time we were in here 10 days ago, was to give this system a nice boost to its bedding. And what I did was I labeled, or I marked, our feeding zone with a coffee filter, which might be this, and the feeding zone might be what was over here. Whatever it is that came in here certainly made a mess, and certainly picked through. Might have been, I don't know, what kind of creature would do this? I get the sense that squirrels are not this interested in this sort of food scrap. I'm wondering if overnight maybe a visiting raccoon, or maybe a possum or something like that, may have dug up our freshly boosted bedding area. So what you're seeing here is a leaf bag. You know, the leaf bags that the township provides are this double layered paper bag to give it extra durability, and it's extra tall. So there was a section that we had totally rebuilt. I think it may have been right here somewhere, loaded with all kinds of fresh bedding, fresh paper, and then into there, so like, yeah, this must be it over here. Into there we put our feeding from 2 feedings ago, all these avocados we inspected last time. When I rewatched the video later, I think I counted about 6 of them. And if I go really down to the bottom, I'm starting to find some of this paper that was put in here was predominantly paper that I had just torn up, leaf bag that I had just torn up by hand. It had been used outside and it was covered in dirt, and I was worried that it might have, you know, stuff on it that could harm my shredder. That's the reason I didn't run it through my shredder. So you can see the worms have moved into this stuff. They're not put off by the fact that it was just completely dry, unseasoned bedding. Probably didn't hurt that we put the leftovers of the avocados that we found from the previous feeding down into this stuff. And then we also threw in some kitchen scraps, stuff like potato peels, I think. I don't remember what else was included. these worms are doing a great job. And you know, I've got this entire box full of a very similar material. This time it's shredded though by my machine, so it's much finer. It should speed its breakdown. But I really like the fact that now I'm just sort of allowing all this other older seasoned stuff, 10-day-old stuff, to just blend in with the material at large. And these avocados continue to break down. Last time we actually cracked one of them open to see how the insides of them were progressing. And we even emptied a couple of them. And we were caught off guard a little bit by how many worms had actually moved into these things to enjoy the yummy whatever that they're going after. So here too, I think we had sort of ejected the contents of one of these and found a nice interesting little worm ball. I shouldn't try to predict what is about to happen while I'm narrating. I'm probably guaranteed to get disappointed in not seeing what I was expecting. I was trying to, like, you know, build up to a interesting emptying of one of these avocado shells to find a little worm ball or worm party, but I didn't see anything like that when I tried to empty that one. So the other interesting thing that we included during the last feeding was, not like the corn cobs that we're feeding today, which are just an entire cob snapped in half. Here we actually have a corn cob that was chopped into little discs to help it break down, just to increase the surface area of the material. These avocado pits also gradually break down over time. So, you know, I'm starting to wonder if this covering I mean, I made a replacement for the other system. I don't have a replacement for this one, so I think we're just gonna have to tough it out and keep using that existing covering for a little while longer. But I think now that the worms have pretty much adopted all this new bedding we provided last time as a material that they're comfortable living in and hanging out in, why don't we leave that just to continue as is? We can even leave all the avocados and everything else that was in there. Maybe we should just see what we could do about sort of building out the opposite side of the system, closer to me. Okay. With today's feeding. I'm just wondering if there's something I can do to prevent further raids on this system. It's kind of cool how they've kind of burrowed into these corn cob bits and nibbled out the insides. Okay, so on this side would have been just the contents of the bin nudged all the way over to this edge to give ourselves room to put in the last feeding 10 days ago. What's on this side is almost all castings. I could see little scraps of stuff that slid in here. And I mean, yeah, if you look at it, it does seem like mostly castings. But there's little sticks and stems and fragments of leaves and leftover bedding bits and maybe scraps of food and, you know, little things that still need breakdown, but obviously also things that prevent this from being classified as pure castings. Plenty of stuff for the worms to continue working on. But I think what's on the opposite side, the stuff that we all just buried over there, that huge amount of bedding we gave them last time with some yummy foods inside of it, I think what we're giving them today is going to rival that. Because quantity-wise, I would say that the amount of bedding I have for them today has got to be very close. Oops. Now I've only got 4 of my fingers protected. I knew there was a hole in this glove already, but I was a little bit too rough and I seem to have torn it open. So my idea was to just empty this box completely into here if possible. And this is about half of it now. And it almost seems to me like, let me see. It does almost seem like we could just go for it. Should I? Just feels like halfway through we should probably drop in at least part of what they're getting, right? Maybe all these frozen bits, if I can dislodge them from each other. We'll find that what we have here is potato and carrot, kind of sprinkling in a nice little food layer into the first large portion of bedding we threw in there. And as you saw, all that freshly torn up leaf bag that was on the other side was completely adopted by the wormies as their new home. They all moved right in, not the least bit put off by it. And I got a feeling they're going to do the same with this stuff on this side. Now I was a little bit nervous, I'll admit, for having such a huge block of like freshly added, just sterile, dry material. I did come in with the garden hose a couple times since the last time we came in here together, and I even hinted at the fact in the last video that I would do that. Come in and just squirt down the feeding zone with the assumption that the paper in there was probably in the need of a little bit of dampness. And maybe that was the trick. Maybe that was what ended up creating such a nice turnout over there. You know what? Before we run out of room, I just wanted to feel like I had truly emptied an entire box of leaves and shredded paper, and it didn't seem like what was left was even all that much at this point. Just a little top coating, which we can at this point use to give them the remainder of their yummy treat here. So here it was, this is not frozen, but everything else, let's see, these were frozen, but they're almost thawed completely at this point. And we'll put one of them over on this side. These will take a little bit longer than those little tiny discs, but that's okay, we're not in a rush. The system's 143 days old, and I got a feeling it's due for quite a few more feedings. This is feeding number 11 going in, and trying to think if there's anything else we could do. If I had moisture, I'd probably add it now, but since I don't, maybe I'll just save that for another day. It'll give me a reason to pop my head in here and take a look at how things are doing. But I think we're done here. I'm just curious what it was that came in here and disturbed things so much and left such a huge mess that I had to do like a significant cleanup after them. Doesn't seem like it would have been a squirrel, but it could have been, who knows. So I think that most of the cardboard stuff can stay over there. In fact, you know what? I bought over one of the avocados, but why don't we leave the avocados over there as kind of old news, stuff to check in on if we want to see how older things are coming along. But we'll kind of not taint the new side over here with anything. Just let it progress on its own without help. None of the seasoned older stuff, just the new fresh stuff for the most part, with the covering of existing castings and stuff. And since it is a little bit difficult to distinguish any part of the bin from any other part of the bin, we'll restore our feeding zone indicator, which is something we normally don't use out here in my outdoor worm bag. But since we've been kind of going off center now a couple times, I think it's helpful to have it. So, you know, I think the next thing on the to-do list for this system is going to be a new top covering piece of paper. Who knows, maybe I'll even use the one that's in the other system, but it's definitely too big for either of them. Needs to be tailored to fit better. So for now, we're just bringing back the old plywood, colorful, painted, fancy design covering, which does a nice job keeping moisture in. But I think just to play it safe, we'll probably end up adding moisture to this at some point soon. We've reached the end of the video, and it looks like we've also reached the end of the life of this glove. And it looks like I've probably got a little bit of cleaning up to do over in my compost barrel too, where whatever that creature was came in and made a mess, but luckily not too big of a mess. They were just curious to see what kind of yummy stuff I had left for the worms and see if there was any of it they could salvage themselves. So when you're keeping stuff outdoors, it's kind of par for the course and not too surprising. So that's it, everyone. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, as always, please don't forget to leave me a quick thumbs up before you go. That's always very much appreciated. And if you haven't done so already, please also consider subscribing to the channel. All right, everyone, have a great day. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye. Oh my goodness. Whatever it is that tore up my compost might have also been what tore up this poor little birdie. Looks like each of the wings of the birdie were left here. Maybe the rest of it is nearby. Poor birdie. Alright. Have a good day, everyone. Thanks again for watching.